I never knew a simple hug could unlock such heartbreaking family secrets. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I remember the warmth of my mother's arms, enveloping me in a comforting embrace, unaware that it was about to unravel a lifetime of hidden truths. The air felt electric, crackling with something I couldn't quite place. I squeezed my eyes shut, breathing her in lavender and something sweet. But when I pulled back, my heart raced. The look on her face would haunt me. She stared at me, her breath shallow. There was fear in her eyes, a flicker of something darker. My little brother, Timmy, played nearby, blissfully unaware. I couldn't take my eyes off her. "Mom, what's wrong?" I whispered, my voice trembling like a small leaf in a storm. That day began like any other. Breakfast felt ordinary, the sun poured through the kitchen window. But as I intently chewed my cereal, my mind swirled with a nagging feeling something was wrong. Our cheerful chatter faded as I focused on her hands shaking slightly as she stacked dishes to hide the tremor. My mom had always been my rock. The one to wipe my tears and soothe my fears. But today, I saw a different person. The vibrant colors of her dress seemed dull. The once bright smile faded. In that moment, the room filled with unspoken words, thick like fog. The silence grew heavy as if the walls themselves could hear. I took a step closer. "Mom?" My voice was a soft thread, pulling at the fabric of her reality. A simple question, yet it was heavy, weighed down by the unasked questions ballooning in my chest. I felt a lump forming, suffocating my words. Something pressed on my heart. A secret. Then she spoke. "There's something I've been hiding from you," she stammered. The air shifted, twisting like a dancer with two left feet, trying to keep its balance. "Something about our family." I felt my pulse quicken, anticipation thrumming in my veins. My palms grew clammy, heart thundering wildly in my ears. Did I want to know? As she spoke, memories flashed before my eyes, distant relatives whispering at family gatherings, hushed arguments over late-night phone calls, the way Aunt Mary's eyebrows furrowed when she saw us. My hands trembled, slipping to my sides. Each word created a ripple of change. "Your father, he's not who you think he is." "None of us are," she admitted, looking down as if afraid to face the truth. I held my breath, the hint of icy dread wrapping around my chest like a vice. "We're not just a simple family, Caroline. There are secrets. Things that could shatter everything you've known." The world around me faded. The walls closed in. I felt a wave of panic rush over me, forcing my heart into my throat. "What are you saying?" I gasped. The words hung, dark and heavy in the air, echoing against the frigid reality. Then, to my shock, she revealed it. A name that tore through the silence, shocking me into stillness. "Your biological father," but the words froze on her lips, caught by the sudden ringing of the doorbell, slicing through the moment like a knife. Who could it be? My heart raced. Uncertainty buzzed in my ears. I stared at my mother, desperate for answers. But something in her gaze told me I wouldn't find them now. Had this stranger come to unravel us further? Or to stitch together the frayed edges of our lives? The unanswered questions loomed large. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The doorbell echoed again, a sharp reminder that reality had not stopped its relentless march. Each ring sliced through my fog of confusion. My mother glanced at me, her face a mask of panic before she hastily composed herself, straightening her dress and wiping away the remnants of fear. I caught a glimpse of anger, too, a flicker in her eyes as she moved towards the door, as if whoever stood on the other side might be the very embodiment of the secrets that threatened to unravel our lives. "Stay here," she instructed, her voice tense but firm. I nodded, though a storm of emotions raged within me. I wanted nothing more than to demand the answers lingering between us, yet an indescribable force kept my feet planted firmly in place. As the door creaked open, I strained to hear the exchange. A voice I didn't recognize, deep and authoritative, spoke urgently. I climbed onto my tiptoes, my heart thudding as I inched closer, trying to catch snippets of a conversation that felt too important to miss. My mother's silence was unnerving, and I wondered how she could contain the tempest shed unleashed moments ago. "Reynolds, we need to talk," the voice said. It was stained with urgency, a tone that sent a chill down my spine. "About your husband and everything that's been happening." "Husband? My father?" A flicker of recognition sparked inside me, a tingling awareness that somehow connected the looming dread I felt to this stranger at our door. I pressed my ear against the wall, desperate for clarity. My mother's voice trembled as she replied, "You have to leave. You said you wouldn't come back here." There was a pause, heavy and charged with unspoken truth. I could feel the tremor in my mother's voice, the vulnerability hiding just beneath her facade of strength. I wanted to reach out to her, to remind her that I was here, that no matter what was being said, we could face it together. And then the man said something that sent my insides swirling. "He's not safe out there. You need to know the truth. If he finds out." I couldn't bear to hear more. My heart raced with a cocktail of fear and curiosity. What kind of truth could possibly transform this life I had known into something monstrous? What was lurking behind the family smiles, the warmth of Sunday dinners and bedtime stories? I turned and paced, struggling to contain the whirlwind of emotions. Timmy, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding just outside our living room, plopped down next to me with his coloring book, his innocent smile a stark contrast to my turmoil. "Look, Caroline, I've made a dragon," he exclaimed, filling my chest with an unexpected flicker of hope. Amidst my chaos, I managed a small smile, doing my best to embrace the normalcy that still existed in my younger brother. He was my sunshine, the one clear light in this storm of confusion. I wrapped my arms around him, squeezing tightly, trying to forget the dread lingering in the air, but even as I tried to ground myself in that tender moment, I couldn't shake off the fear. The minutes stretched like taut rubber bands, and when the door finally closed, I exhaled slowly, dread coiling around my chest again. Mom walked in, her expression unreadable. But the moment I saw her eyes darken with worry, I knew there had been a shift in our reality, in our family. "We need to talk," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "About what?" I pressed, swallowing hard as my heart raced once more. I could tell there was something profound that she had yet to disclose, stories shrouded in shadows, secrets that were clawing at her from within. Before she could respond, an urgent knock resounded from the door, the kind that sent icy fingers crawling down my spine. I was frozen, a newcomer this time to the sensation of impending dread, unsure of whether our world was about to crash down or if it could be rebuilt, if it even could be. "Stay away from the door, Caroline," Mom warned, the protective edge sharpening her tone as she moved to intercept whoever was on the other side. I grasped Timmy's hand, my grip tightening. He looked up at me, confusion etched on his small features, and the innocence in his expression drove a dagger into my heart. The secrets unknown to us felt like chains, binding us to something we couldn't escape. As my mother unlatched the door, I held my breath. The very air felt laden with uncertainty, a thick fog of fear clinging to every corner of the room. And when the door swung open, revealing not just another face but an unexpected guest, I knew things were about to shatter completely. "Mom? You need to see this," the newcomer said, and my world turned on its axis. The flicker of familiarity in that voice sent a pulse of chilling recognition through me. The revelation unfolded slowly, bitter and unyielding. I can find him, I promise, they continued, their determined tone slicing through my thoughts like a blade. But you have to trust me. In that moment, the darkness pressed in more tightly than ever. What truth were we being asked to confront now? The previous revelations felt only the prelude to a symphony of despair. The stage was set for all our burdens to come crashing down, and within that uncertainty, my heart sank, the cliffhanger of our life together hanging dangerously in the balance. The air in the room became thick with an unsettling mix of fear and dread, each breath I took felt invasive, as if I were breathing in the very essence of impending chaos. My mind raced with the possibilities of what the newcomer might reveal, and fragmented thoughts skittered through my consciousness like leaves caught in a wild autumn wind. The room suddenly felt too small, the walls pressing in, tightening their grip on us like a vice. Timmy shifted beside me, still oblivious to the tension laced through the air. He leaned closer, his small fingers interlaced with mine, weaving together a fragile bond that felt both comforting and weighty in the face of uncertainty. I could sense his innocence, a beacon of light, but it was a light flickering against a storm. Who are you? Mom's voice cracked as she demanded answers, the sharp edge of her tone betraying the fear that tugged at her heart. She seemed smaller, like the weight of hidden truths was bending her frame, forcing her to confront a world that had become unbearably complicated. The newcomer, a young woman with piercing blue eyes, took a deep breath, steadying herself as though bracing against a storm. My name is Lisa, she said, locking eyes with Mom. I've known Dad for a long time. Longer than you know. That's why I'm here. The reverberation of those words felt like a stone cast into still water. Ripples of doubt lapped at the edges of my already fractured reality. Where is he? I whispered, hoping that somehow the question wouldn't draw the darkness closer. Lisa exhaled heavily, her shoulders drooping as she turned her gaze to the floor. That's why I came. He's in trouble. Deep trouble. The revelation tumbled out, each word weighted with a burden that felt far beyond our capacity to bear. Mom stepped back, the color draining from her face. I thought he was safe. Her voice quivered, and I saw the cracks splintering through her carefully constructed facade. I reached for her, but she seemed light years away, lost in the cacophony of memories that flooded her mind. Mom, I urged softly, stepping forward. What does this mean? What trouble? A tension-filled silence hung between us, the seconds stretching painfully like the thin strands of a spider's web. The tender moments, the happy memories tied to Dad, suddenly felt like cruel jokes, taunting us as shadows loomed larger in the corners of our minds. Your father isn't who you think he is, Lisa finally said, her voice apologetic yet resolute. He's been hiding a side of himself, a life that's entwined with danger. And it's been closing in on him, on all of us. Danger? My words came out in a whisper, almost not believing them. What kind of danger? The kind that has consequences, she said, her eyes locking onto mine, imploring me to understand the weight of the truth she admitted. He's being hunted. I can help, if you let me. The word hunted reverberated inside me, clamoring against my insides like a mad symphony. A world where we were the prey was unimaginable, but somehow, it felt like the only possibility. I grasped Timmy tighter as if my love could somehow shield him from this chaos that seemed far too insidious to comprehend. Mom's face turned towards me, her eyes filled with a swirling melange of fear, uncertainty, and fierce love. Caroline, what are we going to do? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I could feel the weight of her worry pressing down on my chest, yet an ember of bravery ignited within me. We're going to find him. We're going to figure this out together. The words came from deep within, imbuing me with a renewed sense of purpose, even amidst the gathering storm. But just as hope began to flicker like a fragile candle's flame, the sound of distant sirens echoed through the streets, piercing the silence. I felt the color drain from my face as the realization crashed over me. What if they're looking for him? Lisa's expression turned grave, the urgency in her demeanor morphing into something more compelling. We have to move. Now that my pulse quickened at the thought of leaving the sanctuary of our home. This was where I felt safe, where childhood memories clung to every corner. But faced with impending peril, I steeled myself, taking in the moment, cherishing Timmy's presence beside me, and my mother's fierce love and fear. Before I could voice any of these feelings, Lisa grabbed my arm, her grip sturdy and reassuring. "We don't have much time. If we stay here, he won't be the only one in danger. He needs you," she said, her resolve igniting a fire within me, and just as I nodded, absorbing the overwhelming truth, I felt a new presence just outside our door. The knock was tentative, almost as though the universe was offering a chance for revelation amid turmoil. But fear gripped me again. What if it was the darkness finally catching up to us? Before I could process it, my mother whirled around, preparing to open the door again, and in that instant, my heart thundered against its cage. In that moment, standing amid the tempest of my fractured world, I was acutely aware of one thing: whatever secrets lay beyond that door, our lives would never be the same again. The knock echoed, reverberating through my bones, and each beat of my heart quickened with an unspoken question: who was out there, waiting to step into the fragile sanctuary of our home? My mother hesitated, the handle catching her nervous fingers as if it were a live wire. "Mom, wait!" I called out, my voice a frantic whisper, almost drowned out by the heavy thrum of uncertainty thudding in my ears. Lisa remained poised beside me, her blue eyes scanning for any sign of danger, barely masking the urgency bubbling just beneath the surface. But the door swung open, and the figure that stepped into the dim light was someone I hadn't expected. It was Uncle Marcus, his face drawn and weary, as if he had traveled through a storm both external and internal. Our eyes met, and for a split second, I was transported back to a time when life felt simple, when laughter filled our gatherings, and worries donned a childlike innocence. "Caroline. I didn't know you were here," he said, his voice trembling, the relief evident but haunted by an underlying tension. "I've been trying to reach you. I need to talk to your mom." Mom's composure shifted, the veneer cracking like ice beneath the pressure of his words. "Marcus, what are you doing here?" I felt a rush of protectiveness surge within me. If his arrival only invited more chaos, I saw some things I shouldn't have, he stammered, running a hand through his graying hair, his eyes darting to Lisa with an apparent recognition that screamed caution. "You need to listen to me. There are forces at play, and they're real. They're coming for your father." Fear and disbelief clashed within me, a flurry of emotions swirling like leaves caught in a tempest. The reality of our situation was becoming more tangled than a network of roots beneath an ancient tree, the past clawing at the present with each revelation unveiled. "Why didn't you tell us before?" I asked, a bitter edge creeping into my tone as I stepped forward, my protectiveness spilling into frustration. "You've known all this time?" He glanced away, shame highlighting the creases on his forehead. "I thought it was better to keep you out of it. Your father and we had a disagreement, and I was trying to protect you, to protect all of you, protect us." Mom echoed incredulously, her voice rising with a mixture of anger and desperation. "Or protect yourself? You're standing in our home with half the truth, and you expect us to just believe it?" Just as the tension reached its peak, Timmy stirred beside me, his small hand squeezing mine tighter, anchoring me in a sea of chaos. "Uncle Marcus?" he asked, his innocent voice piercing through the clamor of our adult worries. "Is Daddy going to be okay?" The air thickened with a silence so profound that it felt suffocating. Uncle Marcus knelt so he could meet Timmy's worried gaze. "I'll do everything I can to make sure he is," he promised, his voice low yet laced with sincerity. Before any of us could digest his solemn vow, Lisa stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "We don't have time for this. If your father is indeed in trouble, we need to act now." Mom's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, oscillating between anger and fear, the weight of our crumbling world dancing like ghosts in her gaze. "But how do we trust you? How do we trust any of you?" I couldn't remain a passive observer. "We don't need to trust anyone," I interjected, finding courage in my voice. "We need to work together. How about we start by telling each other everything? Uncle Marcus, how much do you know?" "Lisa, please, explain what you mean by danger." Uncle Marcus nodded slowly, as though recognizing my plea as a lifeline, while Lisa inhaled sharply, her determination shifting into a fierce resolve as the four of us turned toward one another, cocooned in the unyielding bonds of our fractured family. The room fell silent, each of us standing on the precipice of vulnerability. Just then, Timmy broke the heaviness with a tentative smile, raising his arms toward Marcus. "Can I have a hug?" The request hung for a heartbeat, the kind of raw innocence that threaded through the chaos, intertwining our fears with a glimmer of hope. I watched as Marcus knelt and embraced my brother, cradling him in a way that felt simultaneously foreign and reassuring. The moment was poignant, this simple act of kindness serving as a gateway that softened the heavy edges of our entangled lives, and in that embrace, it happened. Beneath the stoicism of adult worries, beneath the layers of secrets, fragile connections began to weave themselves anew. Yet, as our hearts clung to that moment of solace, an insistent vibration echoed through the walls, fracturing our temporary peace. A message alerting us to the outside world. "Caroline?" My phone buzzed in my pocket. "You need to come to the garage. We have to go. It's happening now." A wave of dread sank heavy in my stomach as all eyes darted towards me, the weight of uncertainty crashing down anew. The revelation had only just begun to unfurl. Little did we know that the real danger lurked just beyond our grasp. "Go?" I repeated, the panic clawing at my throat. "Go where?" The answer thundered within me, a silent scream amidst the chaotic resurfacing of hope. Each heartbeat became a countdown, and just like that, hope began to teeter on the edge of peril as reality twisted into something far more complicated than any of us had anticipated. I stood frozen, my heart racing with questions that tangled together in a panicked web. As the vibration of my phone echoed in my pocket, it felt like a warning bell tolling in a darkened valley, heralding the inevitable approach of an unknown threat. The room around me bore witness to a fragile accord, yet the specter of danger lurked just beyond the veil. "Caroline?" The voice on the other end was a mix of urgency and fear, a call to arms that I wasn't sure I was ready to answer. "Who is it?" I asked, raising my voice against the tremor of unease coursing through me. "It's Sarah," came the reply, her tone trembling, blending panic with an edge of authority. "We have a situation, you need to get here. Now." "Where are you?" I heard myself ask, a reflex once rooted in family loyalty now fueled by fear. "The garage, your dad's been taken. The van's running. You have to hurry." The words hit me with the force of a sledgehammer. The captain of our modest ship had been plucked from his helm, leaving us adrift on raging seas. I glanced towards my mother, her eyes wide with terror, reflecting the same uncertainty roiling inside of me. "What do they want?" she whispered fiercely, the sharp edge of her fear breaking through the fragile moment we'd shared. I felt the certainty crumbling like sandcastles beneath the relentless tide, our plans for unity and understanding slipping through the cracks. "I don't know, but do you think it's related to what Uncle Marcus said?" Lisa interjected, her voice firm, cutting through my spiraling thoughts. "I don't know," I snapped, overwhelmed by the urgency constricting my chest like a vice. "But we can't stay here." Timmy, my gaze shifted to my younger brother, who was still interwoven with Marcus in that moment of unexpected tenderness. The gravity of our situation pulled at me. How could I balance his innocence against the encroaching storm? "Find your father," came Uncle Marcus' low, resolute voice. The weight of his conviction reminded me that behind his weariness simmered a flicker of determination, igniting a stalwart spirit within me. "I'll keep Timmy safe. You have to go with Lisa. She's right. We don't have time to waste." As a jolt of resolve surged through me, I stepped forward and took Lisa's hand, feeling the pressure of fate trace our intertwined fingers. "Let's move." We rushed to the garage, each step echoing like drums of war in the hollow echoes of our home. As we bolted through the door, a chill swept across my skin, seeping through the cracks of my bravado. Sarah stood beside the van, shadows dancing across her frightened face. She looked older in that moment, the weight of knowing too much etching lines of worry into her features. "We shouldn't wait," she urged, keenly aware that each second could tip the balance further into chaos. "Wait." I caught her arm, pulling her in just enough to peer into her eyes. "What do you know? We overheard something at the shop." A group talking about your dad and how he has something they want. Something dangerous. Her words tumbled out like falling stones, each reverberating with anxiety. I felt a knot twist in my stomach, intertwining questions yielding only the digging specter of dread. What could he have been involved in that would place him in such peril? The scattered pieces of our lives began to form a reckless constellation, dark, ominous, illuminating the unspeakable connections lurking in the shadows. Drive, Lisa commanded as we scrambled into the van. I fumbled with my seatbelt, our breaths merging into a rush of adrenaline. The engine roared to life, and as Sarah shifted the van into motion, my heart hammered against my ribs, echoing the desperate clamor of my thoughts. A few blocks down, the lights of the world outside dimmed in the rearview mirror, revealing the familiar landscapes of our lives metamorphosing into a sinister memory. We didn't look back. How could we, when safety lay ahead and danger echoed eternally behind? The ride felt like a dream warped into a surreal nightmare, our breaths mingling with uncertainty, yet somewhere deep inside, a spark of defiance surged, a flicker ignited by resilience. As we approached a faint glow on the horizon, the city poured its bright lights like a waterfall of promise, and I briefly took comfort in the notion that hope was still within reach. But that comfort was short-lived. Independence carried risks, and every risk came tethered with secrets yet to unfurl. Over there, Sarah shouted, pointing towards an alley bathed in darkness just beyond a flickering street lamp. A sense of dread enveloped me as we pulled up to a stop. Are you sure? Lisa's voice trembled between fear and urgency. I saw them. It has to be that warehouse. My heart sank, the weight of uncertainty folding over me like a suffocating shroud. This was a doorway to the unknown. We're going in, I said resolutely, trying to ignore the trepidation that buzzed at the corners of my mind. As we slipped from the vehicle, my heart hammered with a rhythm of foreboding, whether it was fear or hope tangled in my chest. With each step towards that warehouse, a truth gnawed at me, a nagging inkling that this was a point of no return, marking a fracture in our family, an unraveling of secrets buried far too deep. As we reached the door, a sudden commotion erupted from within, raising the stakes to pulsating heights. Before I could react, a door swung open. A figure stumbled out, frantically trying to escape, but even more alarmingly, someone followed closely behind, a dark silhouette poised with malignant intent. And in that heartbeat of realization, everything changed. Just as the figure turned, the dim light revealed their face. My breath hitched, an unexpected face behind the shadows, woven into the very fabric of my past. It was someone I never thought I would see again, someone who shattered everything I held dear. My heart split open, exposing an unfathomable reality I had yet to confront. What lay ahead felt insurmountable, and with it came the promise of discovery or despair. Time stood motionless, suspended above a precipice of secrets waiting to spill forth, heavy with the weight of unresolved truths. The silence that draped over the alley felt thick and suffocating. My breath came in shallow gasps as reality pitched and swayed around me. The figure now stepping briefly into the sliver of light bleeding from the warehouse was the one person I had imagined would never cross my path again, my estranged brother, Jason. His eyes widened as recognition hung in the air like a stunned breath. I wanted to shout his name, to bring him back into the fold from which he had slipped away, but words stuck to the back of my throat. The ghost of our childhood loomed between us, a chasm both wide and deep, fraught with unspoken memories and suffocating regret. What Jason? I finally managed to utter, my voice trembling. Each letter of his name felt heavy, burdened by the weight of time lost, the splintering of our family bonds. He was different now, older, with a hardness etched into the lines of his face. Gone was the boy who would sit with me at night, sharing secrets under the glow of the stars, replaced by a man cloaked in shadows, tethered to darkness beyond what I could comprehend. Caroline, he breathed out, almost as if he was waiting for those words to form between us again. I didn't think you'd ever come back. The affection in his voice flickered like a dying flame, quickly overshadowed by something more sinister lurking behind him. I could feel the tension ripple through Sarah and Lisa, their eyes darting nervously between Jason and the threatening silhouette that lingered just out of reach. What's going on? Lisa's voice cut through the chaotic whirlwind of emotions. Why are you here, Jason? Did you come to help our father? My voice trembled as I stepped forward, desperation clawing at my heart. He needs us in danger. Jason's expression cracked just enough for a flash of vulnerability to surface. I can't, he replied, his voice steadied but thick with an unyielding sorrow. I'm not who you think I am anymore. I can't help him. Not with what they know, not with what I've become. The chilling ache in his admission wrapped itself around my heart, squeezing something vital within me. What do you mean? I demanded, the sting of betrayal igniting an old wound. I don't understand. If you're here, it means you have answers. We need every one of them. He closed his eyes, anguish crossing his features, and for a fleeting moment, I could see the brother I once knew, the one who shared laughs over pizza and chased fireflies in the dark. But this was not that boy. The lines of fate had twisted him into something I didn't recognize. Please, you need to leave, he urged, but before he could say more, the shadow following him lunged forward, gripping his arm and pulling him back into the depths of the warehouse. Jason's eyes locked onto mine, a silent plea echoing in their depths. Jason. I cried, moving forward in instinct, desperation clawing at my insides. Let him go, but the darkness enveloped him, swallowing our hopes in an instant, leaving me frozen at the mouth of the alley as fear coiled tighter around my chest. That we have to go, now. Sarah yelled, her voice urgent, shattering the trance that had captured me. No. I fought back against the pull of retreat. We can't leave him, we don't have a choice. Lisa echoed, the tremor in her voice mirroring the imminent danger crawling nearer. If they're after him, they're after us too. Just then, shouts erupted from within the warehouse, and my heart raced again, the reality of the peril sinking in. Whatever Jason had become, however had strayed from our childhood, he was still my brother. A delicious complexity swirled within me, pushing and pulling between familial loyalty and the acute awareness of life or death stakes. With the sound of footfalls clamoring behind us, a choice surfaced, but it felt crushing. I backed toward the safety of the van, that fragile cocoon of escape, me heart weighed down with the realization that whatever bond we once held had now morphed into something unspeakable. Caroline. Sarah tugged at my arm, dragging me with her towards the open doors of the van, her urgency igniting my feet at last. We have to go. Just as the specter of doubt began to tighten its grip once more, I glimpsed one last flicker of Jason, standing tall against the encroaching shadows, an echo of the past screaming out that he was somehow both lost and still there. Don't forget me. The insight punctuated the air, and in that moment, a piece of my heart shattered off, lost into the abyss. As we sped away, leaving behind the alley and the warehouse that looked ordinary in the light of day, everything inside me sang of turmoil and longing. We weren't free, we were merely compounding our own entanglement with the very darkness we sought to escape. What had Jason gotten involved in? What secrets lay buried in that warehouse waiting to be unearthed? And more importantly, how would any of this bring us back together, if it ever could? The road ahead stretched out, obscured by the shadows of uncertainty, enclosing me in a web woven from fear, heartbreak, and unresolved questions. As we drove, the truth loomed in my mind like a thundercloud: this was only the beginning. The van rumbled down the road, the rhythmic clatter somehow a soothing balm against the raging tempest within me. I stared out the window, watching the fleeting landscapes blur into one another, a cascading montage of normalcy that belied the chaos swirling in my heart. Sarah's grip was still firm on my arm, anchoring me in the now, but the echoes of Jason's voice reverberated in my ears, a haunting refrain that wouldn't let me go. We have to think this through, Lisa said, her voice strained from the strain of what we'd just witnessed. Your brother is in deep, Caroline. You heard him, he said. He's not who he used to be. I turned to face Lisa, desperate for something solid to hold on to, but all I found were the shadows of her concern. I know that. But he didn't even say why. He could be in danger, or worse. My voice cracked, the unthinkable looming larger than the darkness of the warehouse itself. What if they hurt him? We can't save him if we're all in danger too, Sarah interjected, her tone steadying yet laced with sorrow. We have to regroup and figure this out. We can't go in blind. Do you honestly think he is lost? I challenged, feeling the heat in my cheeks. What if he still needs us? The question danced on the blade of hope and despair. Before Sarah could respond, a deafening silence enveloped the van, thick with the weight of unshared thoughts. I braced myself against the cool metal of the window, my breath visible in the shadowy confines of the vehicle. The weight of their judgment hung over me. I knew they respected my desire to protect my brother, but there was a rift forming in our own fragile camaraderie, tethered by secrets and the tightening noose of fear. As we prepared to turn onto a deserted side road, my heart sank at the thought of returning home to solace that felt hollow. What would I say when I faced our parents? Could I share the reality of Jason's return without laying bare my own trepidation? I stole a glance at my friends, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of the dashboard, each lost in their own turmoil. I can't just sit here and do nothing, I said at last, determination igniting within my chest a spark amidst the encroaching shadows. I need to learn the truth. I need to understand how we wound up in this place. Caroline, you're talking about diving back into that darkness, Sarah warned, but I could see in her eyes that her resolve was faltering. It's dangerous. I have to, I whispered, the words punctuated by the urgency in my heart. He's my brother. Unexpectedly, a metallic clatter from the back seat broke through our somber gathering. Hey, wait! Lisa exclaimed, diving across the space to grab her backpack. In the flurry of movement, she dropped a small notebook, its pages fluttering momentarily before settling into silence. Damn it, she muttered under her breath, wrestling with the zipper to find whatever distraction she sought. But it was too late, the notebook lay askew, its pages cracked open. As Lisa finally surrendered to the disarray, Sarah let out a small frustrated sigh. We can handle ourselves. Let's not get us all completely derailed, she stated, her gaze drifting between the road ahead and the two of us. I hesitated, then leaned over to peer at the open notebook. The pages were filled with Lisa's hurried, scrawled notes, diagrams, and sharp lines that seemed to intersect and intertwine like the very threads of our lives. My mind began to drift, untangling the web of family dynamics and wild stories that framed our childhood in vibrant technicolor. Among the hastily scribbled words, a name caught my eye, one I hadn't thought about in years: Marcus. Wait a second, I said, turning the notebook towards the light. Who is this? Lisa frowned as she ducked her head to see. Oh, that's just something for a project, but my thoughts screamed to the contrary. I've heard that name before. He was friends with Jason, right? My heart raced, an unexpected revelation unfurling before me amid the chaos of our reality. Yeah, Marcus and Jason were inseparable until things went south, Lisa added, her voice dropping. But why does it matter? Because what if he knows something? If Jason is in danger, Marcus could be our link to finding answers. If he's involved with whatever dark elements captured Jason, I felt a surge of newfound hope, churning against the walls that had threatened to close in on me since I'd seen Jason's broken visage. Okay, so Marcus, Sarah said, the wheels in her mind visibly turning. When was the last time you saw him? It's been years. Since. My voice caught, the memories flooding back like a tidal wave. The last argument shared, the pivotal moment that marked the beginning of our estrangement. I swallowed hard, the weight of it heavier than I had expected. I think he may know where Jason is or what's going on. We can try to find him, Lisa said hesitantly, though the uncertainty in her voice veiled the storm raging within. I straightened, the resolve burgeoning inside of me. We had just lost Jason to shadows. I wouldn't let those shadows overtake us. Let's go, then. But as we turned to head back towards a familiar street where life used to throng with laughter, a street where the shadows already began to stretch and Lumi phone buzzed in my pocket, an interruption that sent chills racing up my spine. I pulled it out, and the name flashing on the screen made my heart lurch: Jason. It could be chance, a mere coincidence, but in that moment, it felt as if fate's grasp was tightening once more, locking us all into a reality we could scarcely fathom. As I hesitated to answer, dread curling its fingers around my heart, I caught my reflection through the broken glass, the glimpse of a girl teetering on the edge, teetering between hope and despair. Answer it. Lisa urged, a note of panic rising in her voice. But as I drew a breath to speak, the image of my brother's eyes, wide and filled with sorrow, filled my mind, the plea that told me everything would be at stake. And maybe, just maybe, in this precarious moment, I could uncover more than answers. I could unveil the raw truth hidden beneath our family's facade. The van slowed to a stop outside the diner that once shimmered with joy and laughter, now overshadowed by the uncertainty clinging to our hearts. The familiar neon sign flickered, casting surreal shadows onto the pavement, reminiscent of the carefree days when a simple meal could dissolve the day's troubles. I felt words lodged like stones in my throat. Our past here was rich with memories, heavy with both laughter and arguments, leading us to this moment of reckoning. My thumb hovered over the answer button, heart racing, mind swirling with all the chaos awaiting me. "Caroline, please." Lisa's voice trembled. "What if it's him? What if he's in trouble?" And with a breath grounded in resolve and fear, I pressed the green icon, raising the phone to my ear. The sound of my own heartbeat echoed louder than the soft ring, an ominous drumroll leading into the unknown. Each second felt like an eternity until the line clicked, a breath tumbling through my chest. "Hello?" A voice rasped quietly, drenched with familiar agony. "Jason?" I whispered, as if the name itself could shatter everything around us. "Caroline." He paused, the whimper of pain palpable even through the phone. "I thought I'd lost you." "I am here," I affirmed, my heart both soothed and cracked open as unease rushed in its wake. "Where are you?" I can't tell you. It's not safe." His voice trailed off, drowning in shadows I couldn't see but could feel, wrapping around my heart like vines suffocating a flower. "Listen, you need to tell me what's going on. We're worried about you." My voice broke, drowning in the weight of sorrow I could no longer keep at bay. "Just give me something. We're coming for you." A pause stretched between us, thickening the tension before he finally spoke, each word like a whispered secret. "Caroline, they're watching. They know I'm not who I used to be, and they want to keep it that way." His words struck deep, piercing through all the protective barriers I'd erected. "Please, what do you mean?" I pressed, desperation weaving its way into my voice. If only I could peel back his layers of pain, if I could reach the boy I once knew beneath all the darkness. "That I can't risk you. You have to." The line crackled, my brother's voice fading like a dream slipping through grasping fingers. "Get out while you can." The call cut off abruptly, leaving me in a fog of confusion and fear. My heart pounded mercilessly, thrumming against the cage of my ribs. I looked at Lisa and Sarah, guilt and uncertainty swirling in their eyes, mirroring the tempest boiling within me. "What did he say?" Sarah asked as I lowered the phone and met their gazes. "That he can't tell us where he is, but he's in some deep, dark trouble." The depths of my voice were laced with the fragility of hope and the weight of despair. "He mentioned something about not being who he used to be." "What does that even mean?" Lisa reached across the seat, gripping my hand tightly, as if our bond alone could tether us in this chaos. "Carol, he's scared. We need to know what this means. We have to find Marcus before it's too late." As we drifted further into uncertainty, an unexpected warmth cascaded through me. It was as if, in that moment of shared fear, I felt the glimmer of hope. Friendship became our anchor, a lifeline amidst the gathering storm. "Okay," I said, the conviction returning to my voice. "Let's find Marcus. He must have answers. We owe it to Jason." But as we prepared to leave the diner's parking lot, a soft tap on the window startled us. I turned slowly, only to find an elderly woman with kind eyes and silver hair, clutching a steaming cup of coffee. She held it out, a mere gesture from a stranger, but one filled with warmth and unexpectedly, an overwhelming kindness. "Here, dear," she smiled softly, eyes twinkling like the stars buried under tumultuous clouds. "I saw you all in deep conversation and thought you could use a little comfort." "Thank you," I replied, overwhelmed not just by her kindness but by the warmth it sparked inside of me. It was a fleeting but beautiful reminder that even in our deepest struggles, there were glimmers of human connection, tiny lights that flickered against the darkness. But just as quickly as that warmth filled the van, a single text blinked onto my screen, stark against the backdrop of uncertainty. I hesitated, glancing at my friends before opening the message. "I can help you," it read. "But we need to meet. 10 p.m. The abandoned warehouse." "Come alone." Panic washed over me in cold waves, a knot tightening in my chest. "I don't think we can trust whoever this is," Sarah whispered, fear creeping into her eyes. Yet the words of the mysterious text lingered like the notes of a haunting melody, intertwining with the echoes of Jason's voice. "They know him not who I used to be." As we drove away from the diner, its fading sign flickering in the rearview mirror as if it were bidding us farewell, I feared that soon I would have to decide between the bonds of trust and my indomitable need to save my brother from a world that hungered for his light. Each choice felt heavy, pushing me closer to a point where I might unravel everything I had once known. "Caroline," Lisa finally broke the suffocating silence. "What are we going to do?" And in that moment, as the weight of countless decisions loomed over me, I realized that the path ahead might lead us down a dark road where secrets lay hidden, each revelation a step farther from the family I once knew, and closer to the tangled web threatening to entrap us all. As doubt steeped around us, a flicker of defiance ignited within me. I wouldn't let my family fade into shadows, not now. But as that determination cemented itself, I felt the bubbling dread churn afresh beneath the surface. Was saving Jason a path to light, or would it lead us deeper into the abyss? The stakes were higher than ever, and the clock was ticking. The echo of the diner faded into the rearview mirror, but the pressing weight of uncertainty remained thick in the air as we drove toward the abandoned warehouse. My mind was a whirlpool of Jason's voice, that strange text, and the kindness of the woman with the coffee. Moments of unexpected comfort felt small and frail against the vast landscape of fear spread out before us. "Caroline, are you sure about this?" Lisa asked quietly, her gaze fixed on the road ahead. The tension in her voice mirrored the tightening knot of anxiety in my chest. I turned toward her, tight-lipped and unsure, but nodded anyway. "We need answers. I feel like everything is slipping away. Jason, he's out there, and I can't just sit here while he's in trouble. It could be a trap, right?" Sarah added, worry etched deeply into her features. "What if they know about us?" The thought sent a shiver of dread through my spine. I have to believe that whoever sent that message knows something. And maybe they can help, or at least get us closer to finding him. We drove in silence, the soft hum of the engine the only sound accompanying our tumultuous thoughts. Each ticking second stretched into a small eternity, dragging us deeper into the unknown. Part of me wished we could turn back, surrender to the safety of familiarity, whatever cracks it had. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows as evening merged into darkness. As we approached the warehouse, a looming structure silhouetted against the night sky, an intrusive nagging wrestled with that flicker of hope inside me. What if this wasn't just about saving Jason, but about confronting truths I wasn't ready to face? "Stay close," I instructed, my voice steadier than I felt. We stepped out, the chill of the night biting through our jackets, and ventured toward the entrance where flickers of light danced underneath the heavy, rusted door. "Looks abandoned," Sarah whispered, her eyes darting around as if searching for hidden perils. "Or a good hiding spot," I replied, taking a deep breath before pushing the door open. The rusty hinges creaked like a woeful sigh in response. A dim flicker of fluorescent lights illuminated the cavernous space, stretching shadows that seemed alive, moving in response to our presence. "Hello?" I called out, my voice carrying through the emptiness, echoing back as if testing the waters of this dangerous step. "Is anyone here? What if it's a trap?" Lisa whispered, her fingers gripping my arm tightly. I felt the warmth of her hand, grounding me. "We're in this together. Just stay close." Suddenly, a figure stepped out from behind a stack of old crates, the outline growing clearer as I adjusted to the dimness. The moment felt suspended, the world narrowing until it was just the three of us, the figure, and the whispers of what could unfold. "It's you." The figure's voice trembled. The shimmering light finally discovered a familiar face, but I was thrown off balance by a sense of betrayal mixed with relief. "Marcus?" I blinked, disbelief clouding my heart. "This wasn't how I expected our paths to collide." "I had to see you," he said, taking a cautious step forward, his eyes darting toward the shadows. It's more dangerous than you know. They're looking for you for Jason. The weight of his words anchored me in place. What do you mean? What do you know? Marcus swallowed hard, his expression a blend of sorrow and something else, something darker. I told Jason not to involve you, but he wouldn't listen. He thought he could protect you, protect your family. Protect us? From what? I blurted out, desperation clawing at my throat. The revelations threatened to unravel the slender thread of hope keeping me afloat. From what he did, Marcus whispered, a tremor in his voice. From the world he fell into, there are forces out there that will stop at nothing to keep Jason quiet. He got involved with things he never should have, and now what? Sarah's voice sharpened, accusing, that he met her gaze, faltering, a storm brewing behind those eyes. And now it's too late. They know about you too, and they want you all to face the consequences. The heavy weight of his words sank in, a faint noise from the far side of the warehouse captured my attention. I turned, heart racing, the echo of footsteps drawing closer. Who's there? I called, dread clawing at me like a wild animal. Caroline. A familiar voice called from the shadows, a voice that sent a wave of icy terror through me. Jason? I shouted back, my heart pounding. But the response that met my ears sent chills down my spine, confirming my fear rather than dispelling it. And oh no. You shouldn't be here. There he was, Jason, shadows dancing around him, but not the brother I once knew. His gaze was wild, desperate, pleading. You have to leave now. They're close. Before I could respond, the warehouse doors swung violently, the sound echoing like thunder, and darkness surged in figures cloaked in shadows spilling into our space. Run! I screamed, uncertainty morphing into instinct. I turned to grab Lisa and Sarah, but in that split second, a hand clamped over my mouth, muffling the scream that clawed at my throat. As my vision blurred in a haze of terror, a single thought sliced through the chaos: how did one family's search for unity lead us into this abyss? And as we plunged into darkness, I couldn't help but wonder, would we be engulfed, or would the path to rescue unlock the secrets we'd buried deep? I sat in the back seat, the air thick with trepidation. As we sped away from the warehouse, the adrenaline ebbed into a desperate silence. The shadows of the past pressed against the walls of the car, urging me to confront everything I had left behind me: brother, my family, the truths wrapped in dark memories and buried secrets. My heart raced as I looked out the window, the blurs of familiar streets turning into a blur of anxiety and regret. Jason's plea echoed in my mind, punctuating each heartbeat: you have to leave now. But where would we go? This was no longer about running from danger, it was about standing our ground in a world that could easily spiral out of control. Caroline, we need to think about what just happened. Lisa's voice broke through my reverie. We can't let ourselves get swept up into this chaos without a plan. Her eyes flickered with concern, and I could feel the weight of my uncertainty reflected in her expression. I know, I replied, gripping the edge of my seat. But we can't just abandon him. Jason needs us. He needs to know we're with him. I could feel the tension inside the vehicle, the remnants of disbelief mingling with urgency. But I wasn't ready to let fear dictate our actions. As we silently navigated the streets, a surge of determination coursed through me. If I was going to reclaim my brother and reunite my family, I needed to confront the depths of whatever darkness had crept into our lives. I wasn't just the sister worrying for her brother, this was about family, love, and the scars that had yet to heal. We have to meet him again, I declared, interrupting the suffocating silence. Marcus said there's something Jason is involved in, a danger that's tied to our family. If we can figure that out, we can help him. Sarah turned, skepticism etched across her face. And what if it leads us back into danger? What if they find us? Then we stand together, I asserted, my voice steadying. As uncertain as I felt inside, I felt a radiant fire kindling deep within me, force of love driving me onward. With the vague plan forming, we found ourselves almost instinctively piloting back toward the threads of our shared past, threading through the streets toward a destination uncertain but necessary. Memories flooded my mind, the laughter, the arguments, those long summer nights discussing dreams, everything that had connected us as a family. Before we knew it, we parked outside the diner, our old haunt where laughter echoed, colors shimmered, and ordinary days pulsed just beneath the surface. For a moment, I stared at the same blinking neon that had always promised comfort, a stark contrast to the turmoil we now faced. "Are you ready?" Lisa's voice pulled me back into reality. The apprehension was palpable, yet a flicker of resolve burned bright. We stepped inside, shadows and memories clinging to the walls. My heart rate picked up against the wall of certainty that this would lead us back toward Jason, back toward family. The moment we entered, the calming heat of the diner enveloped me, a warmth I desperately craved. I took a seat at our familiar booth, each cushion a soft reminder of laughter-filled moments we had nearly forgotten. "I'll get us some coffee," Sarah said, as she slid out of the booth. I watched her retreating figure. Summer faded into the dusk of a thought that felt impossibly heavy, yet necessary. "Are we really doing this?" Lisa asked quietly, her eyes reflecting the tension wrapped in uncertainty. I turned to face her and nodded. This was about family, no matter how fractured it had become. "We are," I whispered back, trying to imbue my own voice with faith wrapped in courage. Just then, the door swung open, and a gust of cold wind swept in, with it a figure that made every nerve in me tremble, a silhouette I had hoped would not haunt us forever. "Caroline," Marcus stepped inside, his eyes clouded with concern and a hint of something unnameable. "Thank you for coming. Are you all right?" I asked, urgency fueling my words as I motioned for him to join us. He glanced around, ensuring no unwanted gazes were focused on our reunion. "It's worse than I thought. The people looking for Jason are relentless." I tried to warn him. "Warn him?" I recoiled slightly. He could feel the weight of betrayal slip into my throat like ice. "You knew about this, don't you see? They've been watching us all. Watching you and your family." His tone turned desperate, pleading, which ignited my own crossfire of emotions. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" I challenged, hurt lacing my words. "Lives are hanging in the balance, including my brother's. This isn't just a game we can play. That I know." The intensity of his voice silenced me momentarily. "I was trying to protect all of you when Jason got swept up into this world. I thought if I stayed low, but he would never listen. He believed he could fix this alone. He thought he could protect you." His words faded into a grave silence, the truth standing before us like a hopeless apparition. "What are we supposed to do now?" Lisa finally broke the silence, her voice shaking. "Whatever it takes to save him," I replied, the words spilling forth as if I had breathed them into existence. Just then, Jason's haunting face flickered through my mind. The longing, the sorrow and the need to bridge the chasm that separated him from us filled me with fierce determination. "Meet me at the warehouse tonight. I can guide you. I know what's coming. We can bring Jason back." Each word hung in the air, grasping at wisps of hope that dwelled in the corners of my heart. It was a race against time. The evening shifted into night, and as we poured ourselves back into the vehicle, I felt a strange kinship with this moment. The light of the diner sat behind us, a treasure trove of memories fading into the dark, unknown of the road ahead. But inwardly, my resolve crystallized. Whatever awaited me, I would navigate the shadows alongside the people I loved. And as I drove, the cool night air filled the car, the hum of anticipation thrumming through our hearts. We were no longer simply plotting a path of survival. We were rising up as a family, striving to mend what had once been broken. Hearts once scattered were drawn together now with ties woven in love and struggle. As we neared the warehouse again, a singular thought brought me to a standstill. No matter the darkness we were thrust into, the bonds of blood would prevail, embracing both the light and shadows. I could almost hear Jason's voice tangled with my own, reverberating like a promise across every tear-stained moment. We would take back what belonged to us. We stepped into the shadows once more, ready to confront whatever awaited us. I felt the heat of determination rush through me. And in that moment, I knew the ultimate truth: love, even in its deepest sadness and struggle, would forge a path through the darkness. I caught my breath as we made our way deeper, and I felt alive with purpose. Together, I whispered, a mantra solidified in my heart. Together, they echoed back, reaffirming our heartbeat within the void. Tonight, we would reclaim our family, and with that, I felt my heart rise with the weight of certainty. We would find Jason, and together we would face whatever shadows loomed before us, whatever consequences awaited us on the other side of this path. As we entered that hollow space once more, draped in darkness, I knew it was just the beginning. And in time, we would learn that the most powerful ties graze the edges of uncertainty like comfort sewn into the very fabric that binds us. In the end, love, however fractured, would be the light to guide us through the fiercest storms.